And Michael Tengan is going to take it away.
All right. Welcome, one and all, to today's topic, the Universal Law of Correspondence. Our intention and purpose with the Limitless series is to realize the human potential in each and every one of us and to essentially create a collective force upon this world. And so today we'll be talking about the Universal Law of Correspondence. And to begin, I'd actually like to start off with a little quote from the very source, the Kabbalion, which is a collection of information that comes from the source material of this. And it states, just as a knowledge of the principles of geometry enables man to measure distant suns and their movement, while seated in his observatory, so a knowledge of the principle of correspondence enables man to reason intelligently from the known to the unknown. And so that's going to be our focus today, is really looking at the interconnectivity of all things and how we can really best affect things in the world outside of ourselves by cultivating a deeper relationship with the world within. Next slide, please. So Alan Watts, famous philosopher and teacher, was a bridge between Eastern philosophy and the Western mind, states, "We are all as much extraordinary phenomena of nature as trees, clouds, the patterns in running water, the flickering of fire, the arrangement of the stars, and the form of a galaxy." So as we look at the world around us, particularly in the natural world, we see these different reflections, these different patterns that exist and cycles that we move through, all in relationship to our own selves. And so we're going to be exploring that in our day today as we talk about correspondence. And next slide, please. Starting off with, first and foremost, as above, so below. And so this is something that is well known in terms of coming from way back when, the Book of Thoth, Hermes, things in terms of the relationship of the law that we'll be covering. And so what that means is, bringing it more into terms that we can focus upon, is in correspondence, then there's correspondence with everything. The world within, the world without, as above, so below. And so here we see a brain cell to the left-hand side, the neural connectivity of the cell itself, the energy as it passes through, and on the right-hand side of the universe. Now, by no coincidence, we can see a pattern that exists between both, and a similarity which is really tremendous and uncanny. And so the fact is that when we look at things from a very subtle yet profound level, we can see emerge different cycles, different patterns, and a relationship of interconnectivity between ourselves and the world and the universe itself. Next slide, please.
Hey, Mike, I want to bring that up real quick.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are musical, the universe is just one verse, and that's all it is. So if you look just in the name itself, it is the same verse all the way through the whole thing. So it is repeatable, just like a song is repeated over and over again, if you like it. So just look at the names of things as well. So the universe, and this picture is actually, it's not a optical picture of the universe. It is actually electromagnetic picture. So you're actually looking at the flow of energy between the stars and galaxies in that case. Okay. All right. Sorry, Mike.
No, you're up next anyway, so go for it.
All right. Gotta unmute the mute. All right. So with that in mind, I just skipped the slide and I can't go back because it messes it up. So let's do this. Yes. Okay. I am still working with slides here. So quantum entanglement. Now this is an odd thing because in research of quantum entanglements, you think that we are all connected. So if you do an experiment on entanglement with a hypothesis, which is the scientific method, that hypothesis is what you're thinking is going to happen will happen, because that's entanglement, because you're working with the quantum world. So it's a very difficult thing to test. So you're going to find tests that disprove and tests that prove, tests that have no results, tests that side with mathematics. So it's very difficult to find actual scientific evidence of entanglement, of this law. But we all know it exists. Just, my wife, she texts me via the quantum entanglement world before the cell phone can catch up with it. So that's my proof, is in my physical experience of it. And so the way this is used in coaching and training is as within, so without. Something Chase told me about the OODA loop, which is something that Top Gun used, which is a way of observe, orientate, analyze, and or decide and take action. As a way of just looking what's out there, seeing what the world is giving you, because it's entangled with you. So the world's showing you something good, something bad. It actually is just an event, which is neutral. And as you look at that event, you interpret it. You interpret what it is, and then you decide to take action on that. Just make a decision of what you're going to do, and then take action on that. That's how this works. So how this show up in your life, if you're having a bad day, bad things happen. You say, oh, I can't believe I'm having a bad day. Things keep happening bad, and you're continuing to create that. The people that are always sick. And you got the opposite side of things, the people that are always happy and great things are happening to them. So they are literally conscious or unconscious creators in their world using this principle, as within, so without. So they're creating the feeling within, and the feeling without is being generated from that. We tend to think the opposite. So it's not the car you want, it's not the house you want, it's not the job you want, it's actually the feeling you want. People think, when I get that thing, I'm going to have this feeling, and that's backwards. That's not how the universe works. You can create that way, but it's as you take the steps, your feeling grows, and it's a much longer process. The quicker process is to create the feeling inside you that you're already there. Okay, so as within, so without unfolds. So in science, let's talk a little bit about this entanglement thing, and spooky action at distance is what Einstein referred to this as. Spooky action at a distance. He didn't understand how something could be created through the mind, through this energy of feeling, this hypothesis. So he didn't really, he didn't accept it. He knew it was there, but it didn't fit into what he was doing. So science still kind of keeps that as well. So you got to look at the monumental people that are like the heroes of science. Einstein's one of them. And so he didn't accept it. So the culture of science is not really accepting this, even though there are tests that prove or disprove out there. So what I'm showing with this really is that science isn't so grounded in this. You have to look through personal experiences, and my personal one that's really very easy for people to relate to is breath. So breath is a cycle, it's a circle, it's an inhale and exhale. So you're breathing in life, exhaling what we refer to as death, which is our CO2, is our off gas. So the way we look at that, just the beautiful day we have right now, the sun has risen this morning and has given us an in-breath of light, of warmth, of solar power for those who use that, including the plants and animals that rely on the sunlight to grow and thrive. And then it'll set at night, and that's a time we all sleep and exhale and rest. You can also see the moon cycles for those who work in the medical business or the police, law enforcement. And notice around about a full moon, which is just happened a couple days ago, there is usually more events that are happening. So more people showing up to the emergency room, more crime happening, because the energy is stronger and amplifying what people are doing. And this goes bigger and bigger. You can see that in the year, the Earth goes through its cycles of winter, spring, summer, fall. And then what we're going through right now, if those who are conscious of astrology, with the rise of consciousness on the planet, as we are actually crossing into the light side of our galaxy. The Earth does a 25,000-year cycle around the center of a galaxy. That's its orbital path. And the energy associated with that is a rising and rising, setting sun, and then the nighttime. We were just coming out of nighttime. So things are getting better. And the last thing here, looking at as within us. So we just look at the outside world, everything expanding that outside of us. This goes back to the last law we talked about, mentalism. We have the conscious mind, which is our awareness mind, subconscious mind, which is our mind that we allow to create. So as we spoke about last time, conscious mind is the architect that draws the picture. The subconscious mind is the mind that designs, it's the engineer. And then the superconscious mind is one that supplies all the information, all the parts, all the people, everything you need to build it. So tapping within works as well. Okay, and this is the fast way to do it. So you tap into the feeling. You tap in, use the material to create the feeling inside you. Subconscious mind takes that feeling, and over time you impress that feeling on the subconscious mind. It pings that off to the superconscious, and the superconsciousness then creates it on the outside. All right. There we are. Mike, you're back on again.
All right, here I am. All right, so looking at that, it's amazing because we really can see these different reflections all around us. And click please. We can see it from the plants, right? From the succulents to next please, sunflowers, to even the human body. Now, what that means is that there is something pervasive that exists in all things. That interconnectivity that Chris was talking about in terms of what happens within and without is not merely something that is considered more esoteric. It's something that actually exists and we can see physically as well. Next slide, please. And so we can see it in terms of what's known as the Fibonacci sequence. And so Fibonacci was an Italian mathematician back in the day who looked at identifying this sequence and specifically how to identify it through numbers. And so if we look at the sequence itself, next please, we can see that if we take these sequential numbers and add them together, 0 and 1 equals 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, so on and so forth. We indeed then see a sequence that emerges that is present in all things. Next, please. We can see it from everything from storm clouds to waves to fingerprints to the galaxy itself. And so if indeed then this sequence exists physically, then also, again, if we go back to that first quote that we started off with, from the known into the unknown, the seen into the unseen, then it also then exists not merely within inside of our physical bodies and selves, not merely in just the physical structures around us. It exists very much as mirrors, meaning that what we see in people outside of ourselves really are merely reflections of ourself. So as Chris was talking about, if we're happy, then we tend to be surrounded by happy people. If we are focusing upon cultivating success, then we find successful people in our periphery. We do indeed create the world around us, and we do so by focusing upon the world within. And so in doing so, next please, what we can really recognize is that there are three things that are happening simultaneously. One, that the world outside is merely feedback for the world within. It's a reflection. And so that reflection then comes into play because that feedback gives us the perfect information to check in to see what's happening within inside of ourselves. So if we are outside and things are breaking and we're surrounded by angry people, take a moment, because we're in a place of, rather than being constructive, we're in a place of deconstruction or destruction, decay. And so we want to be able to take that moment to shift, because then too, the world within then creates the world without. So we want to then be able to shift ourselves internally into that higher vibrational state to then start to create things of like nature outside of ourselves. And then three, recognizing that this relationship exists also has the capacity for us to work with people outside of ourselves as well. And Chris is going to talk about that as our experiment. Chris. Your mic's muted.
Thanks, Mike. The Fibonacci sequence is beauty. So it is actually the average. Beauty is average. It is the way things tend to. So it's funny when you look at somebody who's beautiful, they're actually average. We think of it as some amazing thing. It's actually they're more of what the universe is. And one of the things I thought about putting up here for Chase, Captain Reality over there, is a Aston Martin, because Aston's always designed cars around the Fibonacci sequence. So they have these beautiful lines. Everything's in the right proportions. They have the Aston Martin DP7 is one of the most gorgeous cars ever built because they used the Fibonacci sequence in it. And cars have become more stylish recently because they're starting to use that. Ford got a hold of that a couple of years ago. That's why Ford suddenly looked good. I mean, kind of, you look at the old Ford Escort, and you look at the Taurus today, they look completely different. So experiments. I have an experimental background as an engineer, working as a test pilot for the Air Force and as an engineer for NASA before I joined the military. So I always like to put this stuff into practice. And this one's going to be fun because you get practice on your worst enemy. So pick somebody you don't like for this. This is actually a great experiment to do. Somebody you interface with quite often that irks you, maybe somebody at work you don't like, a friend of yours or something that you interface with often. And what you're actually going to do is create a new relationship with them without speaking to them. All right, so you're going to write this down. I am grateful for these positive traits in this person's name every day. Okay, it's better to be able to do it at the same time every day because that way you're kind of creating a habit out of this. So if you wake up in the morning and do it, or you do it before you go to sleep, or do it at lunch break or something like that. But create a consistent habit of this. You can use, there's many apps online you can use to help you create a habit. But I suggest for the next, till we meet again, you apply this for at least a week, 2 weeks better, to one person and see what kind of results you get. So what you can do is create a different feeling of that person inside you, and the outside is going to shift. All right, so what's that going to look like? In my experience, and your experience can be completely different, but in my experience, one of two things happens. The person changes the way they communicate with you. Not other people, just with you. There's a different air of respect, there's something else that changes. Or the person leaves your life. For some reason, you're never in the same room at the same time. They'll leave and you'll show up, or vice versa. They don't resonate with you anymore. Okay, so they just disappear because you're a different vibration than them. All right, so that is your homework. And that is all we have to speak about today. So again, this is boilerplate stuff we've been using for a while. We're here to invest in you because we know as we make you better, we aren't really making you better, as you learn information and apply that to your life to make yourself better, the world grows. And Warren Buffett here said, is invest in as much of yourself as you can. You are your biggest asset by far. And those who do personal development know that that's the way things are best built in your life, is by developing yourself. And so this is Mike and I's contact information. You can talk to us anytime on Facebook. But shoot us an email if you've got any questions. And if this resonates with you, we also do personal coaching. So give us a ring. All right. So from here, unless you got anything else to add, Mike, we are going to open up for questions. So let me unshare this. There we go.
Captain Reality here.
What's up?
Yes, I am the character also known as Chase Cart. So I wanted to ask Chris, I got a question for you. I wanted to ask you what, let me come on video here. What, where do you see humanity right now? Where do you see humanity in the big wheel of the zodiac? Like, are we going into the fall, or are we coming out of the winter? I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because my calculation says the age of Aquarius is going into the fall. And that's because I started from Virgo. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts are, because a lot of people are aware that a 24,000 year cycle exists.
Yeah, so the ecliptic slices the astrological chart in a different way than the sun does. So the sun sits between Pisces and Aries, whereas the line between Aquarius is where we're stepping into right now. That's the line of the ecliptic of the universe, which means if you look at our universe, it's spinning like this, right? And our Earth doesn't spin directly on a disk, and I'm going to exaggerate very greatly here. It sits like this. Okay, so it sits what we call an inclined orbit. So when you see satellites going north-south around our planet, they're on an inclined orbit. The satellites that you put your TV dish antenna and point are geocentric orbits. It's two different types of things. Geocentric stabilized on the equator, and inclined is off from that. Okay, so since we sit in inclined orbits, we pass through the day and the night of the universe. If that makes sense. So the galactic energy has a light side and a dark side, just like our sun does. It has a day and a night, just like the moon does, just like our breath does, all right? So I believe we are in a transition into the daylight. Okay? Mm-hmm. So this is the crossing of the galactic plane, and we're coming out the other side of this right now. And it is quite a chaotic time. This is the time when people hunt. Animals hunt, right? In the dusk or the dawn time. Mm-hmm. And it's a time of cleansing, as you know, from the water bearer. So there is a lot of chaos going on right now as people look at it. But there's also a lot of growth. So if you're one side, and that's one of the beauties of Earth, there's a lot of diversity. So you're going to find a lot of what we call chaos, but then there's a lot of order happening. Right. Okay? So they kind of offsets. Okay, so the chaos and the order, as there's more chaos, there's more order. That makes sense. And as we go into light, the order is going to become just like as the sun's rising. It's going to give more perspective of light energy to it, and we're going to rise into the light time of our existence.
So I've been thinking.
So people understand these cycles, ages and eons. You've probably heard these expressions. Yeah. So ages has been eons. So an age is 2,000 years, and eon is 25,000 years. Eon is an orbit around the galaxy. All right. Transitional period is a long time. So you're talking about 2,000 years for an age, and there are 12 ages. So these are average numbers. I'm not throwing exact numbers out here. So don't expect to be living in Lemuria or Atlantis next week. It's thousands of years, right? So we are in the shift right now, which is a really great time because there's great potential building, but there's also a lot of chaos associated. Sorry, go ahead.
So that's what you're telling me, from what I'm hearing, that the age of Aquarius isn't all about the kumbaya and what they saw in the 70s or saying about in the 70s, where everybody's peace, love, and harmony. There's going to be some chaos that comes to that, and that's why I guess Uranus rules Aquarius. So what I wanted to say is that events like we saw in Las Vegas at the beginning of this month can be attributed to this type of change. And I think if this is all orchestrated, which it could be possibly orchestrated, then those type of things are going to start coming to light a lot easier now than they ever did before. So that's what I think Aquarius is doing.
Let's apply this to your life real quick. So you are a coach as well. And when you work with your clients, and it was for those of you who do personal development here, there is a place where you have your conscious mind that is saying, I want to do this, I want to do this. And your subconscious mind says, I have never done this before, and I don't know how to communicate this. So the conscious mind implants the feeling into the subconscious mind. So you have a new program and an old program, right? So this rock is the old program. This new program is coming down here. And there's a certain time where this starts to solidify, and you have two opposing realities.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we call dissonance. There is fear in that place of the person doing growth. A lot of people bounce off and let that other one go and stay back where it's considered safe. The fight-flight mechanism, the brain takes over. So our Earth is going through that. We're coming to this place where this new creation is solidifying, and there is dissonance. These two different realities are starting to exist in the same place. And people are getting a bit scared about it. So there's a lot of fear. And what's going to happen is this one's going to basically dissolve that guy and become the main energy. So it's just like you do it in your own personal life. The Earth's going through it as well. So you as a conscious creator, instead of looking at the negative, this might be created by somebody else, something bad might be going on. This is just like you coaching yourself through a new monetary desire, a new a goal for losing weight or something like that. So you're going to hit this barrier, and you just need to step through it. So you as a conscious creator, step through it, see the good that is happening right now, see the great things that are happening in our government, in our country, in the world, and allow the energy to be projected from you.
I'd like to chime in as well. It's very much like that concept of the two wolves, right, that exist inside of us. One's light, one is dark. And the elder speaking to the child, telling him about how these two wolves exist. And so they're always at each other, you know, always equally balanced going to and from. And so then the child asks, well, then who wins? Which wolf wins? And the elder replies, whichever we decide to feed. And so right now with things that are happening, there very much is the opportunity as these systems start to shift to really bring our attention. And really that's the main part of what we're co-creating here in terms of the limitless, the human potential movement. What can we collectively create together in that place of power? And when we focus our attention upon those higher vibrational energies, again, like the law of correspondence would state, that we then collectively can create something beautiful, even if beautiful is just average, as Chris was talking about.
Well, it's that balance in between. You got your positive and negative. The event is neutral, and that's the beauty. Okay, so those who do meditation, that neutral state, 1.618, well, 3.14159, whichever mathematical equation, it's just stillness. Christ was crucified between two thieves, right? The positive and the negative, the guy who repented, the guy who didn't. Christ was the neutral balance. Okay, so.
Yep.
Cool stuff, man. Yeah, I like the idea of wolves.
Great question, Ed.
Hey, what's going on, Chris?
Captain Rowdy's here.
Mike?
Hey, what's up, Chris?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good, man.
Hey, awesome talk, man. I really like where you guys are going with it. You are creators. I love that. I love repeating that to me myself every day. You are a creator, and so when guys are using that and you're riding those waves, those vibes, understanding that life is worked as a frequency, and you start getting on that vibration and just go with it. You know what I mean? So as a wave, you got to ride it. You know what I mean? I love that. So once you get to that level, and then you just realize, hey, you are a creator. You're making your day. How I envision it, how I'm seeing it, what my, I guess what I'm doing, my next step. I'm creating this right now. You know what I mean? So I want to be in the driver's seat, if you will. And I like that you guys kind of preach towards that direction. You know what I mean? You guys like consciously, you can do it if you want to. You just got to see things for what they are. And I appreciate that, guys. It's good hearing and listening to this. I like that it's out there. You know what I mean? More people are on that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great point, Chris. You are the driver. You specifically are very good at realizing that, and you have a very good vibration to you. And you can see the good things that are happening to your life since you've been applying this more and more. And you've been doing fantastic stuff. So
yeah, amen to that, brother. All I needed was just a little bit of like, hey, reassurance. Hey, man, you're absolutely right. you know this for a long time. You know this since you were just a little boy. We all have. We all knew it, just as we are just children.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
it's a good
you know what I
point
mean?
Chris has. Mike and I don't teach anything new. I mean, the book I have right here that I get the stuff out of is a couple thousand years old, I'm pretty sure. It doesn't have a copyright on here. No, it's copyright 2008, but Emerald Tablets of Thoth are pre-Egyptian, so.
Yep. Yeah, it's our place is really just reminding humanity of our birthright, which is to create and to do so from a conscious state.
No, that's awesome. The tablets of Roth, man. I got to get on it. I'm diving, you know what? And it's funny because, you know, I've passed it during some reading and or research. So what do you call that? YouTube? The tablets of thought. But I've never actually taken the time to read it myself. So I'd be curious.
Yeah.
To know.
This one here is there's two of I can put this in the chat later on, but this is great because it has both the Emerald Tablets of Thoth or Hermes. It's the same energy, so as above, so below. Thoth is actually Hermes, is actually Mercury, is actually Metatron. Metatron's a character from the Old Testament in Christianity. So
Right.
the energy exists and flows through everything. It's timeless. So
Right.
when it says Emerald Tablets of Hermes, that's what this one's called. And
Yeah.
Catalan. So this one's good because it has like 20 different interpretations or translations of the tablets. Instead of just getting one person's perspective, you got 20 different. Cool. We have any other questions?
Yeah, you said you put that in the link, or you could send that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll throw it in chat right now.
Yeah.
I'll throw it into the
I'll save you the time. I know how to use Google. Thanks, man. Thanks.
Well, I'll throw it into the messenger for Limitless.
There you go.
Yeah, so it'll be there when we close this.
Any other questions? Now is your chance. Otherwise, we'll bring everything to a close.
I was kind of looking at the experiment that you're proposing, and it's interesting because if there's people that you really did not want to deal with, or people that you didn't want in your life, you could actually manipulate that out too for your choices to do that.
Yeah.
The way you feel inside there. I mean, you were looking at a positive spin on it, but there's like some people that if they're bring a low vibration or it's just going to be drama every time you see them, you might be able to go in and change that, and as you said, have the option to leave your life. So that's an interesting flip application of it.
Yeah. So they're either going to be there and in harmony with you or not there, because you're creating harmony and they're not.
So that's a win-win either way. So you either in harmony.
Absolutely,
And
man.
Charlie brings up a good point, and I think you're the result of the five people you put in your life the most, or keep in your life the most. And it wasn't until I realized I needed to connect with myself completely that I realized that I was that at one time. I was so codependent. My codependency was through the roof. It was like I didn't even see it before until I got involved with NLP with Charlie, and then people like Chris and I. Chris is my coach. He's been killing it for me. I have to admit, if anybody's thinking about having Chris Hilton as a coach, he's my coach, and I'm here to vouch for him right now. My life has elevated another couple dimensions since I started getting coaching. I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart. He didn't ask me to say anything like this. I'm just here to tell you that you're going to get in a flow state where you're going to attract the right people into your life, and you're going to also attract the right events, and synchronicity is going to kick in, and everything's just going to happen the way it's supposed to. We're on a divine plan. When you get in tune with the divine plan, flow kicks in, and the next thing you know, you're doing everything you ever wanted to do and didn't even realize you wanted to do it. I guess that's the best way for me to say it.
Synchronicity is the law of correspondence. Everything's interconnected.
Yes.
And if you're in tune with it, you're attracting the right things. All the laws are like this. The universe is a law of one, so we're just breaking pieces down so we can look at it. But when correspondence means it's communicated across every vibration, everything's interconnected. Whereas you are on a specific vibration, able to jump vibrations, like change channels. Every second you're making choices to change channels, and your body is one huge water crystal that can restructure itself very quickly to a new vibration.
Yeah. It's so true. Once I knew I could change my vibration like quickly, it was on then. I was like, how can I do that? So everything that came to me that was negative, I immediately tested this on it. So now I've gotten so good at it that I'm looking at how to get even higher dimensions. So like the lower dimension stuff, the third dimension things that most people go through, I don't deal with those things as much anymore. I don't deal with low vibration emotions. I just don't. I don't deal with them anymore. I wake up every day with a clear head. No more of these. I used to have thoughts constantly. As soon as I would wake up, like everything would hit me all at once. Boom, 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 like everything was coming in. And I almost hated to get up. Now I wake up and it's like pure silence. And then I get into a state of meditation so that I can bring in what I want. Because I want to use that silence to put out intent. So the universe can, because I know I got a wide open channel going now, apparently, because there's no third dimensional noise coming in. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's chatter.
Yep.
Static.
So get away from that chatter as quickly as possible, and you're going to see a whole new life. That's how I should say it. That's what happened to me. So
maybe we should leave a class or something on how to get away from chatter, how to find calm, how to find peace, because that's a huge part of people's life, because the inner voice, silencing that is really one of the early steps to being a purposeful creator.
I found my steps to be calm was my first step, and then my second step was focus, and then my third step was energy. So I found that the more calm I got, the more I could focus. And then the more focused I got, the more energy I got. And then the more energy I got, I was like, I got to do something with this, right? So I started channeling that pure energy into more creative things in my life. And the next thing you know, like wisdom, like doing what we're doing right now, this kind of stuff. This is exactly what people need to get in tune with, because they've just been humans for so long. It's time to add the dash being part and actually get in it.
Well, it's funny because we often get so caught up in the pains of the past or the potentials of the future, taking ourselves effectively out of the moment. And when we're actually able to gather all of our energy, like you're saying, that being, coming from that place of beingness. In Hawaiian, we call it pono. So that's a place of balance, of harmony, of that 0 point where we're not carrying all that other junk and the chatter has quieted. And so then we can most effectively and skillfully move forward in our lives.
That's it.
It takes that recalibration to that frequency of who we truly are to be able to get there.
That's it. You know, that's
recalibration. That's beautiful share and a testament to Chris and the work that he does.
It's about frequency.
All doing.
It really is.
Yes.
So you think, so how does this sound to somebody who doesn't have a quiet mind? You ever been driving and got 2 radio stations at the same time? That is how most people's minds are, and they have more than 2.
Oh yeah, that was me.
I see an applied kinesiologist who is a muscle tester here in Las Vegas. His name's Dr. Francis. I can get you in contact with him. He's a guy that surgeons go see because he's non-invasive and he will quote unquote cure things with very, very simple methods. So cancer can be cured without radiation. All right. Cancers, so as within, so without. The body also shows you places you're not taking care of yourself. So if you have a whole lot of anger and you repress it with alcohol, you're going to get some kind of liver cancer. So just an example of people who have cancers in various parts of the body is because they're not honoring what that body's energy is. And so it's turned, basically you pissed it off. And it's no longer working with you because you're not working with it. So it's being what you're being, because you're its driver, as Chris put it. You're literally driving your body the wrong way, and it's now creating the wrong cells. Okay, so anyway, back to Dr. Francis. He did muscle testing on how many different emotions I had in my body at the same time. And I think he said around about 20. I was like, I have 20 emotions going on right now. He's all, dude, that is, people have hundreds. Hundreds of emotions going on at the same time. So the emotions are the source of your thoughts. Okay? So the fact that most people, he said, have hundreds of emotions. When we do meditation, that's when we reduce these emotions and we quiet the mind through that. It's basically becoming very emotionally peaceful. So when somebody tests you, you can find an applied kinesiologist around where you are to see how many emotions you have. You can kind of
I'm going to him.
Put a graph. He's extremely good. I've stopped seeing a doctor. Besides my
I'm going to him. I'm in Vegas. I mean, if doctors go to this guy, he's the one I want to go to. So
yeah, the first time I saw him, since I live in Vegas, he called me up and said, "Can you come in tomorrow?" I was like, "What?" He said, "I have an appointment that opened up, and the surgeon and the surgeon's father that was going to come in to see me, their plane got stuck in Chicago due to the weather. I'm having in Chicago during the wintertime. So, and he sees a lot of celebrities as well. He's got pictures of all kinds of people he's been with because of his talents, you know.
Yeah.
So it was just interesting that aspect. He does a lot of different really cool stuff, but just being able to say there's not just thoughts, it's emotions, and the way you tackle or control is a word we like to use. Reduce those amount of thoughts is by using meditation and calming yourself down. As you calm yourself down, there are less emotions, and less emotions drive less static in your radio station.
And I want to say something real quick. I'm a veteran, Marine Corps veteran. I did 23 years in the Corps, and I held so much anger and stress in my body. I weighed 50 pounds. I was 50 pounds heavier when I first started trying to get through this stuff. And my first breakthrough session, I have literally felt kinesthetically a release around my heart of tension that physically let go. So much so, it changed my breathing patterns. It actually opened up my breathing in that area. So I was holding, because I learned through NLP that when you have a lot of stress or anger or some sort of emotion, your unconscious mind will actually store it in the body. Isn't that amazing? So it stores it in the body until you release it in the mind. It's just unbelievable how our emotions can really play into how we feel. So
you think about it, stored in your body, which is your resonance structure, which is giving out a resonance, a frequency to attract things to you. So you see it in your outside environment as well. So it's mirrored back to you anyway. So that's what we're talking about, correspondence. Everything's looping. Everything's in correspondence with itself.
That's where that feedback loop becomes so critically important, is that we often identify things outside of ourselves and we're like, oh, you know, that's that person's problem. You know, that has nothing to do with me. Or we put that blame outside of ourselves. You know, it's feedback. Everything is feedback. And so when we actually tune into that fact, we can actually get everything that we need in terms of doing our own work personally, because we have reflections, and especially if it's a specific type or archetype, it's a type of person that continually comes back into our lives. You know, if it's a relationship, for example, a romantic partner, is there a specific type of person that's being reflected? Because that's really an aspect of ourselves. If it's like we're doing with the experiment, if it's someone that we just, oh man, this person just every time I see them triggers all this stuff, perfect. Because that's a reflection, and what's being reflected to us, especially in relationship to the emotion that we experience with that person, is what's key and important, because that gives us everything that we need to know in terms of how to best do that work inside of ourselves, to create that shift, to realign and to calibrate to something else.
I like that third-party perspective, watching what you think, where you actually when you're in a conversation with somebody, where you actually step outside of the conversation and watch yourself talk to that person. You'll notice that you do this all the time to yourself every day. So like you're actually talking to yourself and trying to convert yourself into doing certain things. If we would just step back and watch our thought processes and see where they're coming from, I think we'd live a better life.
It's crazy, man. Your words are powerful. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Your words are powerful.
Hey, Mike, I want to cycle back to a comment that you made about Pono in the Hawaiian concept of Pono. And kind of what we're talking about today, it goes back to, I think, a interesting topic to bring up would be forgiveness, as we're kind of looking at the experiment and going there, and maybe going a little bit into the Huna and going into, the Ho'oponopono process, the forgiveness process. That might be something of interest for a future discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a powerful process, and it's one that we have attached words to yet. Really, I mean, I kind of liken it to a bell. You know, when you strike a bell and that initial vibration is going at such a great degree, inevitably it gets to the point where it balances out, like Chris talks about, and there's just this moment at the end of it where it just goes into, just before it goes silent, and it's just this place of just peace, of harmony, of tranquility.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great topic. Definitely, we can look at that as well.
Yeah, and I can see you doing the guided meditation associated with that. So yeah, that'd be perfect.
Awesome.
So speaking of meditation, I think we should do something real quick. This is be kind of fun. Since we're speaking about cycles and being, if you stabilize one cycle, the rest of the cycles start to line up through correspondence. When I coach the pro athletes, I love to work with breath, because that's where I found the best results for those guys. It's just grounding them in breathing, because they got to do it anyway. So if we just do a breath cycle, we'll do 5 breath cycles, breathing in and breathing out, to a count that I'll give, and just be aware of what happens to you. And your environment's probably going to stay kind of the same. There's not many. Well, maybe your cat will change there, Charlie. But just notice what happens to you. So within, okay. And then if you keep that breath cycle going calm through the whole day, you'll notice that there is a difference as without as well. So if everybody can take a deep breath in, and then breathing out to the count of 5, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would do this for about 5 minutes with pro athletes, and usually within 5 minutes, they would attune themselves, and I can feel the group's already shifted to a much more balanced state. The physiology would balance out, and they would actually find more energy, more focus, and a much more calm state. So you can do this while you're driving. My brother's actually built a device that you put in your dashboard, and it has lights that light up and then unlight up, I guess, and go out, that he uses to breathe while he drives, and he can control the speed of it. So he can relax him instead of going through the road rage deal. He can actually relax while he drives, just by watching the lights light up and go out.
Wow.
So
awesome.
That's dope, man. Where you get one of those?
I told him it's just
He started breathing.
board. He's breadboarded together.
Yeah.
So nothing big
Just
yet.
keep like a timer going on or something that could remind you just every now and then when you look. Okay, let me do that. 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. That's nice. I like that.
Cool. Well, that's all I got, Mike. You got anything else?
No, I think that's it for us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We appreciate your presence here, your participation, and
Don't forget to do your homework.
yes, remember to do your homework.
What was that again?
You guys remember the homework? 3 nice things about somebody you don't like. Every day. Think of 3.
This works because I want to say I have a testimony on this, because my ex and I broke up in at the end of February, and it takes. I'm pretty like very emotionally driven. I'm a Scorpio, so usually it takes me a year to two to get over an ex, and it only took 2 to 3 months. And why was that? Because I did exactly what you're talking about here. I found nothing but her positive traits, even though she and I didn't work out. I just wished her the very best and just sent out love constantly to her and her new relationship. So when you can do that and mean it, man, it works like a champ. You'll get over relationships, and we're meant to move on from relationships we're not supposed to be in. We're not supposed to be, unequally yoked. We're supposed to be equally yoked. We're supposed to be, moving forward with those right people and that's why I'm on this call right now. It's because I'm connecting with the right people now. I wasn't before. And so when I brought in lower vibrational people, that's what I did. I was lower vibration.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Heck yeah, man, you attract your wolf pack. I like that. You attract who you want to be around you. That's important. Very important.
That's
Very
good.
cool, man. Thanks for
I enjoyed it.
Your replies, Captain Reality. That's what's up.
Oh, bro, I'm telling you. Hey, I'm just letting you know this is the kind of stuff I learned from Chris Hilton. That's why he's my coach.
He's my coach as well, man. Cool. Something we got in common right there.
I think he's going to help a lot of people. I know that. So I'm just trying to help him get in front of people.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Mike. You guys take care.
All right, thank you all for being here
All right,
today.
nice to meet you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Take care.